Listen, don't let your child get in the middle of what you got going on. If you can't handle it on your own, call the police and get them involved. And I know it sounds good to say that your son is your protector, but in all honesty, he's not. It's supposed to be the other way around. You supposed to be protecting him. It's a reason why we used to hear the old folks say a child need to stay in a child's place because they don't fully understand what's going on over here.
Right.
This mother, teenage son, died protecting her. She said, I asked that man to get out my house several times, and he wouldn't listen to me. And that's when my son got involved, and he told him to leave. And I thought he did. He walked out the door, and we closed it behind him and locked it. But instead of him just leaving, he started shooting through the door. And that's when my son got hit. I watched my baby take his first and last breath. This is never gonna sit well with me. He did all this to protect me. He loved me so much. Parents, hear me out. This is not what your child's supposed to be doing. You're responsible for who you bring around your kids. Take what you want out of the equation and really look at who you dating. Do this dude right here look like he want to be a stepdaddy to your children?
No.
Do he really look friendly? Look at him. Do you look at him and say, I could see him picking my children up from daycare? If I'm ever working late, I could see him helping the children with their homework and making them a little snack until I get off. Because to me, if you a single mother or a single father on the dating scene, if the person you pursuing don't have those type of qualities, what are you doing?
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
I remember seeing this a while back and feeling very strongly about it. Not that the situation here wasn't hard enough, right? That you have a young man who lost his life. But for the mother to then come around and try to somehow make this into a heroic story of her son sacrificing his life to protect her, that to me was next to abuse. So you guys heard the story for yourself. The question here we have for this mother is, what were you thinking allowing this man who took your son's life into your home? Before I read these comments, I would like to bring up a photo here because you can easily tell a lot of times. Because I just zoomed in here. I wanna really zoom in. See what we have here. So here's who you were dealing with here. This is the man you allowed into your house, and you'd been begging for him to leave, but he did not want to leave. I mean, honestly, man, look at this. And I don't know what he has there in his head, if they're like ponytails or something. The question I think everyone wants to know is, how did he get in your house in the first place? How did he get there in the first place? And there needs to be a sense of accountability here towards any mother who puts her son in this position. But to utter the words that my son was protecting me and take confidence or pride in that is ridiculous, when here you have a young boy who shouldn't be protecting anybody at that age. He should have a father who he can look up to and be able to make better decisions. But unfortunately for him, he couldn't control his environment. He couldn't leave until it was too late. Honestly, a very, very unfortunate situation. And then the question is, how many women do you think are out here exposing their young sons, let alone daughters, to dangerous men and situations? There are a lot of crazy dudes out here. They are. A lot of crazy dudes out here. Let's read some of these comments, see what the people have to say. First comment here says, too many children are being casualties due to their own mother's poor judgment. Again, I'll read that one more time. Too many children are being casualties due to their own mother's poor judgment. When we talk about the importance of men being careful when they're looking for a woman who they want to make a wife, right? So that they're not subjecting their children to a woman who never even wanted to be a wife in the first place because she doesn't know what it is. She may have a different definition of what wife is, right? That's that foundational value. How do you define marriage versus how does she define marriage? Here we speak in terms of if you did things the right way or the best possible way. If you've made mistakes, people can come back. If it's not too late, too bad, right? When we have those topics of women protecting their wombs, where we say, hey, it is important to have a man in the home, and being a single mom by choice hurts more than just you, hurts the children. And though people will try to find every reason to somehow normalize this and make this okay or make an excuse for every situation, the reality is the majority of these chicks could have avoided all this pain, not only for themselves, but also for the children that they have. Here's a response from a gentleman in response to that woman's comment. It says, "Thank you for saying this. As men, we can't say anything without all hell breaking loose." Somebody else who says, "Amen." Another person who says, "Exactly. They need to stop bringing random men around their kids. I don't care how many years you've known or dated him. Do your research. These men are dead and heads. You do need to be a lot more careful if you are a single mother out here dating." Somebody else here added, "That's the type of man she had in her house." Here's another comment that says, "His mugshot speaks for itself. I wouldn't bring him around my dog. R.I.P. young man." Here's somebody else who says, "I have 4 sons. I would never put them in a situation where they feel like they have to protect me." You know, think of the idea. Follow me here, right? This is going somewhere very important. As a man, it is instinctual to want to protect the women who you value around you. Well, we don't see men doing that, but who you value around you, right? It comes naturally. There have been studies done on this. And so you can imagine that if that young man is put in a position where, or multiple positions, where he has to physically protect his mother, but he's not yet developed enough to deal with the emotional trauma that comes with that. He's not a grown man, like my man there said in the video who's presenting the topic. He can't rationalize it to the point where he can regulate his emotions or go back to baseline. And you have grown men who go through traumatic situations where they have to fend off somebody who's trying to harm their woman or someone who they care about in their family. But they take it to the chin and they keep it pushing because that's what you do when you're a man. You fight to protect those who you love. But you bounce back. You bounce back. Now think of what this does to a young man's development. Even if none of this stuff ever happens, but he's constantly been exposed to men who put him in his fight or flight state of mind. A lot of women don't know this about men. Men don't just meet each other and it's just a simple meet and greet. Most men meet each other and subconsciously ask themselves, can I unalive this man if I had to? Now you may think that might not be the first thought. That's a bit too extreme. Okay. But it's the second or third thought. Men assess other men very quickly and decide if that man would be a threat in the situation where he turned on him or not. So what do I mean by that? Well, you're a young man who's been exposed to all these different men who in most cases possess these pseudo-masculine qualities that really are the false representation of masculinity. And they're these hyper toxic masculine types because he's going to pop off and protect you. But the problem is because he'll turn up and protect you at the drop of the hat. But the only problem is the protector might turn on you. And is that a protector you have there? Is that dog useful when it attacks its own? And that young man who's been exposed to all these different men, even if they never turn on you, if you're choosing men who are extremely toxic, you're putting him in that state of just being hyper aware of the danger around him. And he knows he's younger. And you're probably creating in him a necessary need to carry himself a certain way as he grows and progresses in life, versus having a father in your household who you know loves and cares for you, who you don't want to test. And yes, you do feel some sort of threat, but you know he loves you, right? You know he cares for you. You know he would never want to see you hurt, seriously hurt, because you know he might get on you a little bit, but he doesn't want to see you ultimately hurt. Just something to think about. That's it, guys. Of course, I'm curious to know what you think. Leave your comments down below. I appreciate you all checking out yet another episode of the Coffee Pod. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.